everybody! It's Romania Black, and we are on episode 2 of the director's cut of ReZero, and I'm not gonna lie, I am warm this morning. There's a heat advisory out, and I am sweating hot. I went outside for 2 seconds to do something, and I came back in and was drenched in sweat. I had to put on a different shirt because it was just like, but yeah, so here I am. We're ready to watch episode 2 of the director's cut of ReZero, and last week was very interesting. Getting to meet Suburu, seeing him struggle with trying to figure out how in the world to try to get this Insignia back, and then all the shenanigans, and then we met Layla, and it's just like, or no, Ellsa. And then, yeah, we're in a time loop, so that's fun. And as it ended, he reconnected with Satella, whose name may not be Satella. We'll have to see on that. And she doesn't remember him, so that's gonna be fun. But anyway, I did want to address something that I had put in the comment for episode 1, just to clarify, because some people had asked about the OP. So the OP, I have talked with the mods, and after episode 3 next week, I can watch one of the OPs, and then there'll be a second OP, and they spoiler tagged when I could watch it, so we'll get to that when we get to it. I can watch the EDs though. I can watch all the EDs. The first OP I need to wait until after next week, so we'll do that. And then as far as the watch order goes, I'm going to be doing episodes 1 through 6 of the director's cut for season 1, then watching OVA 1, then watching episodes 7 through 13 of the director's cut, and then OVA 2, and then we'll go from there after season 1 is over. So that's the plan. That's gonna get us through season 1 and the first 2 OVAs. So if you were curious, that's where we're going. So I'm really excited. So thank you all so much for watching with me. I'm recording this a little bit ahead because after last week, I was like, no, I need to go ahead and watch episode 2 before I even look at the comments. So I want to give a shout out very quickly before we begin to our philanthropy tier over on Patreon to thank you all so much for your support. If you would like to see, if you're watching this on YouTube and you're not a patron and you want to go ahead and see next week's episode, it's on there. So you can go check that out because I record and post a week early on Patreon for patrons who don't want to wait a week. So there you go. So I want to give a shout out to Sunspots, to Zachiel, to username123, to Jason N, as well as to Be Happy, Dana, Alex Cornejo, Violet Stardust, Destiny Marie, Diana Williams, Daniel Devorin, Damage3245, as well as Eric, Ichu, Fisho, Ghostly Turnip, James, Jessica Cullen, Lyndon Elfreya, Murphy, Nicholas, as well as Jack Witt, Rose Jennison, Rast, Shimoyama, Translucent Men, Zero Anti-Zero, My Chua Her, Chewy, Lady Lulz, Amorphosilica, and Ian Davidson. Thank you to all of you all on the philanthropy tier and everybody on Patreon that is supporting me. I greatly appreciate it. All of my love. And thank you for those on YouTube watching. If you want to do me a favor on YouTube, if you can't afford Patreon, I totally understand. Make sure to give this video a like, make sure to subscribe to see ReZero every Sundays with me, and make sure to comment down below to help the algorithm, and y'all know that jazz. So, with that being said, I am excited. We have 2 Chibis to see after this episode today. So we're going to watch episode 2, then I've got 2 Chibis to watch back to back, and then I'm going to take a little break, go watch episodes 2 and 3 of the OG season, and probably over lunch, and then come back and I'll talk to you all about any differences that I noticed from episodes 2 and 3. We'll talk about the episode. We're going to get the full experience. It's going to be great. So with that being said, we are going to start episode 2. I'm so excited to see where this goes of ReZero, and we are going to do that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's do it to it, Lars. Well, so episode 2, what a conclusion to our first kerfuffle with Suburu, eh? Hello, this is Whiteboard Coon. So I'm so excited to bring Whiteboard Coon out in episode 2. Really excited. I'm not surprised. I feel like with all of this time leaping and return from death and all the stuff that we're going to be encountering, I have a feeling Whiteboard Coon is going to be very helpful. So this is Whiteboard Coon. Whiteboard Coon has been my partner in crime for many years now on the channel, and whenever there is a need to have things written out and my teacher brain takes over, I'm like, we're going to have to do lecture mode on Whiteboard Coon. And so that's what we're doing, because we've gone through in the past 2 episodes, we're on the 4th timeline, the fourth life that Suburu has expended here in this world, which hopefully, look, I'm not naive. Is the fourth life going to be the last life? No. I have a very horrific, distinct impression that Suburu is going to end up getting killed a lot in this series. Like, getting killed in many ways, shapes, and forms, and I'm not looking forward to that. That feels a little tragic, so we're going to steel ourselves for that. But yeah, so when we start this episode, we've gone through 3 timelines. The first one we get through very quickly, which I was like, this timeline is the most cursed. The third timeline, I was like, nope, get rid of that. Let's stop right there. But I also wanted to kind of write out like things that we, like noteworthy things. So things that are worth being notes. So we have one, which was the Witch of Envy. The Witch of Envy, which is Satella. Which, again, Amelia, I like that we got her name. I was hoping I was going to be really mad if we didn't get her name, and like right as she was about to tell him, he like passed out, and I was like, no, but we got her name. It's Amelia. I'm curious why in the first timeline she chose Satella as her name, because she doesn't seem to like Satella at all. And I'm like, why would you choose that? But I guess she just didn't trust him, and so she was just trying to be safe and kind of gauge his reaction to it. And Puck was kind of like, why'd you choose that name? And so also we get confirmation that Puck is apparently male. Okay, that checks. Again, Berserk reference. That checks entirely. But yeah, so in the first timeline, like essentially there's lots of things we're going to discuss with the timeline that this series kind of discusses. But in the first timeline, Suburu ran into Felt in the alleyway with the bandits right after she had stolen the insignia. Then he was saved by Amelia. They investigated. She said her name was Satella. It makes me sad that they actually had a really good bonding moment in that first timeline, but then she has no clue about it because she died. That timeline's over. So it makes me really sad. I don't know if you all have seen Steins Gate, but you should watch Steins Gate after you're done with this. Go check that out. It's on my channel. There is this kind of notion of like when one person can remember things and another person doesn't get the chance to, and it's like, that's so torturous, you know? But then they go to the loot house. They don't meet Felt at the loot house in the first timeline. They find Rom dead, or at least Suburu finds Rom dead, and then Ellsa kills them both, and that's the end of that timeline. So then the second one, he bypasses Amelia, runs past the bandits, goes straight to the loot house, negotiates with Felt, and then Felt and Rom die, and then Ellsa kills them. So that was a no-go. And then the third timeline is where we start out in this episode, and it is by far the worst. Like, we had to go through 2 really bad timelines to get to, like, the one that I was like, please let this one stick. So here in 3, 2, 1, I just like that they just immediately jump right into it. No recap. We're going to jump right into it. I also want to make note, I went back and watched episodes 1 and 2. I did not see any differences. They were just squished together and they made this episode. So, but I have a feeling that from here moving forward, I think there will be stuff cut in the director's cut versus the actual episodes, because episode 2 did not have an OP or ED. It was like just the full on episode. No OP, no ED. I did skip the OP in episode 2. So that will be interesting to see how the future episodes handle the director's cut versus the actual plot. But in this case, you didn't miss anything if you didn't watch episodes 2 and 3. You didn't miss a single thing. So with that being said, yeah, she's really off-put by him calling her the Witch of Envy. And here Felt's like, okay, Felt is cornering in on her to try and steal the insignia. And she's like, you call me by her name, which most won't even say. Again, it was such a bad name. I'm very curious why she chose it the first time for him to call her, because she seemed like she trusted him somewhat. Also, girl, this insignia is really important to your family, and you kept it in your pocket. You couldn't put it like in your bra or like something else, or like your shoe. You couldn't tape it to the inside of your shoe, where that'd be at least a little less conspicuous to like get pickpocketed if it's so special. Girl. I'm curious how old Amelia is. I don't want to know. I know y'all are biting at the bit to tell me such things, but I want the show to tell me. But I'm curious how much older she is than Suburu. Suburu being 18, that all makes so much sense now. I wasn't sure at the beginning of last episode, because I'm like, is he like in his 20s and doesn't have a job? Is he still living at home? Seems like he's still living at home if he's only 18. At least that's the vibe that I get. But also, I feel like Subaru being 18, I'm going to give him a lot of grace in this series because he's an 18-year-old. I'm like 20 years older than him at this time, so I've had a lot more life experience than Subaru at this point. So as a person looking in to this world, I have to remind myself, as a teacher, I have to remind myself this too a lot. I'm like, okay, whenever a student says something crazy, I'm like, what did you say when you were 18? And it's not far off. So I'm like, okay, yeah. It's just like, you have to like imagine what an 18-year-old is thinking. And so I'm like, okay, this makes sense. So I'm going to give Subaru a lot of grace because he's only 18. And a lot of the things he says are out of naivete and just the fact that he's not experienced a lot in the world. So I think that that is to his benefit that he's so young, that he just is experiencing a lot of things for the first time, you know? And of course, she thinks that he's working with Felt, and that's crazy and aggravating. It's like, ah. So yeah, this is just the worst timeline. I'm also really glad that in this episode, they allowed Subaru to figure out what was going on. Because I'll be honest, I was like, when he, and granted, again, I'm going to give him a lot of grace because he's 18, but he was trying to figure out, like, well, what do you mean she doesn't know me? And what do you mean is going on? And he didn't realize that there was a time loop that he calls it a time leap, but I'm like, you're kind of looping more than you're leaping. But he's just stuck in this time, like, cycle of going back to the same checkpoint, the same fruit stand. He starts going on and on back there. And I'm glad he finally figured it out and put two and two together. I was like, thank God, because there's nothing more frustrating than when you get the mechanics of the world building, but the characters themselves don't get it. That's super frustrating. Okay, we're going to skip this intro. Not really liking the fact that it ends with blood everywhere. That's scary. So yeah, when he's like, someone please be nicer to me. And why was I summoned to this world? A very apt question, which I think we need to point out. Why summoned? Again, we talked about that last week, but I am curious, like, what we're going to get out of that. Like, how is that going to go? So anyway, in this timeline, everything is going horribly. And I'm like, and I joked, I was like, at this point, you should just grab a sword and stab yourself. If you know you're going to start back over. And he doesn't have to worry about that because it ends up happening 30 seconds later where he runs into the bandits, he walks past them, doesn't think that they'll stab him, and then they do. And they do. Although, the one benefit of him of him dying in this timeline, the one benefit is that when he falls down and gets stabbed, they're like, oh shit, you actually stabbed him. They're like, oh no. And they're like, what are we doing? And they're like, it's not worth taking anything. And at that point, like two silver linings come out of this moment. One is that Subaru does indeed realize, he's like, wait a minute, Rom ate those chips before, so why are they here now? What happened? Why am I back? Why did it restart? Like, he realized this. Granted, the animation in this scene and the way Subaru looks is haunting. It's very creepy. I was like, ooh, it's very creepy indeed. But the other thing he realizes is that there are police in this world because he hears those guys freak out and run away being like, oh God, the police are going to get us. And he's like, okay, if I run into them again, I'm not going to fight them because I don't want to expend that energy and I don't have time and I could end up dying again and I don't want to repeat this cycle again. I'm just going to call the guards and have them get them away from me, which was actually really smart. Like Subaru working smarter, not harder. Love it. At first, when he goes back to this, I thought that the fruit stand owner was trying to give him an apple, but he was just offering it so he would buy it. And he's like, nah, I'm poor. I've accepted it. So yeah, he finally figures out, we get into this timeline where we're back. We start off, I'm going to get the right pin here, the right marker. He's like, we start out here back at the Appa stand. The Appa stand where it all has begun. I want to make note though, the man talks about the idea that time does, and this is important, not revolve around Subaru. And what I mean by that is that he makes note that he says somebody penniless. We know Amelia helped get his daughter back, but someone helped her. So I think it's kind of cool world building to know that just because Subaru is not taking action does not mean that those actions in the timeline are not going to occur. And that's what convinces him to go back and finish what he started. Because he realizes from the guy at the Apple stand that just because he didn't help Amelia find his daughter and bring her back, someone else did. And she kept the flower that the little girl gave Amelia. So that was really interesting. I was like, okay. And he's like, all right. When he said there, a wound to the back is a warrior's greatest shame, I mean, yeah, I could see that. I could see why he would say that. It's going to be kind of hard to avoid, I feel, in this show, though. So yeah, he's like, this is a time. I'm going to call it return by death, which he's 18. We'll let it go. The nomenclature of this poor child as he gets the Bungo Stray Dogs fishbowl eyes, we'll let it go. Bless his heart. So yeah, I liked this guy that was just casually listening to him like monologue, and the guy's like, it's not my business, but what? That was great. So he's like, basically I'm back from square one. And he makes the comment that he's like, I could just, not get involved. I could sell this stuff. I know it's worth at least 20 gold coins, which is apparently a lot of money in this world. I can go live in the life of luxury. I can just do whatever. I've got some technology. I got some food. I'll be fine, which again, 18-year-old logic. He's like, I'll be able to be just dandy and won't have to worry about it. And then he starts thinking, and he's like, there's always softies though who help others when they really can't afford to. And he thinks back to Amelia, who took the time out of her day to help save his life. She didn't have to. She really didn't need to, but she did it anyway. And she stopped and made sure he was okay. He's like, she saved some useless stranger, which I do feel bad that Suburu called himself useless. I'm like, you're not useless, Suburu. And she's like, and she let that useless stranger feel all pleased with himself. And that's when he's like, yeah, he's like, oh, he's like, she did let my ego kind of go, and me being like all the hero and everything. When he's like, I really didn't have the right to do that. And then we have this moment here where he sees the couple with the kid, and he thinks back to her saving the girl. And then that's when his mind goes from, oh yeah, we had that nice sweet moment, to the loot house, and then the tomato gets splatted, and he's like, crap. He's like, she's going to keep going after that insignia. She's going to eventually meet up with Felt. What if she meets up with Felt when Ellsa comes to get it? And Ellsa, who clearly doesn't like her and killed her before, she's going to kill her and Felt and Rom again. And if he walks away, he's going to accept that that's going to happen. And so he has to make a choice of being like, do you care about this woman enough to try to save her? She did save you. Do you try to do the same to her? Do you care enough about Felt to go back and try to save her as well? And I liked this moment because Suburu, he had every right to just say, nope, I'm washing my hands of this. It's not, I keep dying. I don't want to do it anymore. But that's not his character. That's not who he is. He's like, I can't let someone do these nice things for me and not try to pay it back. And I really appreciated that moment with his character. I thought the tomato metaphor was really good. And he's like, no matter how many times I repeat this, it's not going to change. History is a compelling force, right? He's like, look, I have all this knowledge now. I've been through this 3 times already. So I've got this knowledge. I should be able to use it. And what ends up happening is he ends back with the bandits. But this time around, based on what he's learned, which is clever, he ends up calling Reinhard. I could say things. I can have my mind in the gutter. I could say things. But you know what? I really like Reinhardt's character. So he's like, there was an unusual point. So here's the thing. She threw some magic around trying to get it Felt. Because again, the bandits show up. At first when I saw this, I was like, oh, she threw some magic at the bandits like she did in the first timeline. But that's not it. Those bandits hadn't even shown up yet. She was throwing magic to try to get back at Felt. So that's interesting that the same thing happens, but in a different context. As one does, because she was chasing after Felt back in the first timeline. And her magic looks like icicles. Ironic that Ellsa is Ellsa and Amelia with the ice powers is not Ellsa. But yeah, fate is a compelling force. He's like, get to work, broke boy. I love that. So yeah, he's like, Satella was just an alias. He's like, I've got to figure out what her name is. Yep, I've got to get to her and tell her and get her to tell me her real name this time. So yeah, I love Dumb and Dumber. Dumb, Dumber, and Dumbest. But yeah, him like acting like a damsel in distress. And guess who shows up? The master swordsman Reinhard. Oh, Reinhard with that very large sheathed sword that he carries with him. Okay, I recognize that voice, so I need to look up who is his VA. Who be his VA? We need to know these things. These things are very important. Robbie Damon does his English voice. And Yuichi Nakamura, yes! I was like, I recognize that voice. I was like, is it Nakamura? It is, yes. If you don't know who Nakamura is, I'm going to go through some of his credits so that you may have heard some of these before. He was in Fairy Tail. Yes, indeed. He's been in Bleach. He's been in, God, so many different anime. Let me see. He was in Pokemon. I didn't realize that. Let's get to some. I'm looking at like 20 years ago. Let's get into some of the more recent roles. Let's start at 2020. See, yes, he's Gojo. He is Gojo. I was like, I know this voice. He's a little bit more chivalrous than Gojo. But yes, essentially, he's Kuro from Haikyuu. He's Gojo. He's Hawks from My Hero Academia. I mean, need we go on? He's been so many different roles, and I absolutely love it. But yeah, he's Badeni in Orb. I mean, look... He's Loki in One Piece. Oh, nice. Heck yeah. And, he's Ghostblade in the Japanese dub of To Be Hero X. Nice. Okay. All right. And now I want to watch it in the Japanese dub, but just for that. I'm going to go back to the episode. Anyway, so yeah. Nakamura, amazing voice actor. But oddly, this is a little different role than he usually plays. It's a more chivalrous, kind of gentlemanly role than I would normally associate with him, actually. So that's kind of cool. Nice. But yeah, as soon as I heard that voice, I was like, I know this voice. So yeah, Reinhard I really like. Although, I'm not going to lie, for a hot second when he shows up, I was like, are we forming a harem? But no, I like Reinhard as just a hardcore, like definitive, like, hey bro, what's up? I'm here to help. And I'm very curious because his outfit... And his outfit that he's wearing, although he says it's his off-duty clothes, I'm like, dude, why all the layers? Along with Emilia's clothes have like the purple and white motif to them. So I'm like, is it just like this kingdom? And that's like if you're an upper class citizen or one of the elites, you wear like the white and purple. Or maybe it's just a trend. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. But yeah, so we have our boy, Reinhard, who is a master swordsman. He comes from a long line of master swordsmen and has lots of special powers that we learn about. And I'm like, basically, he's kind of OP. He's kind of OP in a way. But I do like that we establish he cannot use his powers if someone else is using powers that involve aura at the same time. Because he needs to absorb all that aura for his abilities. So when that's a really good kind of, way of keeping people from getting too OP, being like, okay, if she's healing somebody, he can't go all out. So that's a good compromise. I kind of like that. I like how that's shaped up. I'm going to be curious to see what we get in the future with that. So yeah, he's like, I deeply admire. So that's how, he knew his name. It was only his nice guy index is off the charts. Love it. And he's like, well, are you a guard? And he's like, I'm off duty, so I'm not in uniform. Curious. At first, I really wanted him to ask Reinhard to come help him fight Ellsa because I was like, he's got a sword. He has a thing that you don't have, Suburu, which is a weapon, which Suburu uses a club. I'm going to be curious if Suburu gets a weapon of his own, like if that's going to be a thing, or if he just is going to like bumble around and borrow other people's weapons. I don't know. But in any case, so I was expecting him to ask Reinhard to go with him to fight Ellsa, but this again is talking with Subaru's character that he's so nice that he's like, no, I don't want to involve this man who saved me. I don't want to get him involved too because he might die and then I'm going to feel bad. No, I'm going to take care of it. I got this. And I was like, that's very gentlemanly of you, Suburu. But at the same time, and honestly, what ends up happening is it's good karma because he doesn't get Reinhard involved. He doesn't try to take the easy way out, which would be get this man involved and then have him fight Ellsa. He fights his own battles, which is great for Suburu. I'm like, good job. Great. It actually ends up having good karma for him, because what ends up happening is in this that he decides, no, I am going to visit Felt's home. And when he visits Felt's home, that's when he runs into Ellsa beforehand. But then later on, we're going to get to a few more steps, and we're going to have Reinhard coming in. Reinhard only showed up because he was curious about Subaru's actions, and then he ran into Felt, and Felt convinced him to go help. And so it just became, like, Subaru's actions became this good karma, like, chain that looped back around to him, which was really nice. I liked that. And so he doesn't know who Amelia is. And he's like, she's also extremely gorgeous. And Reinhard's like, extremely gorgeous women, I don't really pay much attention. It's like, you're not stopping my allegations, Reinhard. You're not stopping my allegations at all. But yeah, if you see her, tell her that I'm looking for what she's lost. I'm going to give it back to her. Nice. It's going to be hard picking a thumbnail for this week, because there's like, do I pick Reinhard? Do I pick Ellsa? Y'all know by the time you see this, but yeah. Then running into Ellsa, gonna make a quick note in this as she runs into him. She's like, why are you scared? And why are you mad at me? I don't even know you. So she instantly gets curious about him. No, I guess her outfit is the same. It just from the side looked like it was more, not as showing from the side angle, but I think it's because her boobs are so big that it like cuts across the side of it. Again, no woman is walking around intentionally with their breasts out like that. No, not comfortably, not without reason. But yeah, I guess she is trying to also lure people into her, because then she kind of is a provocative person in the sense that she likes to like poke and be like, oh, are you going to poke after me? Because if you do, I'm going to kill you. Like, so one of those things, but still. Mm-hmm. And she's like, if you conceal your hostility, you'll be even better. Yeah, she wants him to fight her, but she's wanting him. She has like a little bit of a, I don't want to say Hisoka vibe. It's not quite there. In that moment she did. That was a good shot where she puts her hand like over where she's gutted him. That was great. I was like, ooh, I really liked that. That was a good moment to kind of preface. And then poor Suburu. So we get to see Felt's home, which is a shack with a couch and a few blankets. I feel for Felt. I feel as if Felt, she doesn't judge the people in the slums because they're poor, but she judges the fact that they're weak or weak-willed, and they don't have the will to try to better themselves or their life, which, we can't assume their stories, but to her, she's like the live strong mentality. She's like, none of them are trying to do it. She's like, I'm the one that's trying to get out of here and better myself and live strong. And they're just like settling into this weakness, which, it Felt's 15. So it's fine that she, makes those assumptions. But I feel that Suburu, he like feels bad for where she lives. And that's when Felt shows up and thinks that he's trying to steal something from her. Which, this was a great fight scene. Gonna be honest, the fight scenes in this episode, they were great. The choreography was fantastic. Like, I'm really excited if all the fight scenes have choreography that's like this, because it's going to be really fun to watch, because it was just like everything was so intense and fluid, and him using the table to fight back against her because he doesn't have a weapon. Really loved that. That was great. But I loved it too. I thought that was fantastically done. Awesome. And I love she basically tucks him into bed and she's like, okay, what are you doing? I like that she gets him where he's tucked into bed and he's like, I'm really not trying to steal from you. I want to buy your insignia that you stole. So again, it is for all Suburu has to do to not only get around and get to the point, and he's trying to get to the point quickly so that they can get out of there before Ellsa gets there. And he's also trying to like not give too much away of what he knows, but he has to tell them some things to get them to trust him. Like for an 18-year-old to be navigating all of this and doing what he has to do, he does a fairly decent job. I'm not going to dock him for like doing what he has to do in this moment. And she's like, well, and also he's also dealing with the fact that he's been killed before in this scenario, and he's trying not to, die again, but also he can't really mention that he's died before because nobody else is going to get it. And so, yeah, he's a little bit impatient, but he's like, let's hurry up and get there, see Rom, and talk about it. And I liked that in both of these episodes, we have two main, women that he talks to. We have Felt and we have Amelia, and both of them on this bridge kind of reveal little parts about themselves that are kind of mysterious or that they've kept hidden, and Suburu gets to encounter both of them in that way, and I thought that was really smart. I liked that. I thought that was neat. And yeah, you literally have Amelia using her spirit channeling to prove without words that she is very different from everyone else around her. And then you have Felt, who may not technically be, but wants to position herself as being acknowledged as not like everybody else around her. And so it creates these two characters that are both feeling like outsiders or seem like outsiders in this world, and Suburu gets to interact with both of them. It was really good. I liked it a lot. So yeah, she's like, I'm trying to get through my goal. But what does she say there? She's like, even if I were alone, it's not as if I couldn't get by with some effort. Yeah. And so she does talk about, being with Rom. And Rom's like a grandfather to her, which is really sweet. I like their relationship. And then he does the little head pat, which the Chibi series kind of acknowledges it a little bit. We'll go back to the timeline, the time, checking time in this world. But I do get it's kind of like she's a little bit tsundere, because at first in the Chibi short, she's like, I don't want you to touch me, which is, valid. And then he's like, well, but you led us on the long way around. I know, because I know we went the short way last time. And she's like, well, so she is a little bit tsundere. But even if they are tsundere, if she don't want you giving her head pats, don't give her head pats. Don't do that. Listen to her. Listen, Suburu, listen. But yeah, she seems to be fine with it there. So yeah, I'm going to tell y'all right now, that castle looks ominous. Very ominous. I don't think Amelia lives in said castle, but we might be pleasantly surprised when we find out. Apparently he's going to her house, so I guess we're going to find that out next week and see where we go to from there. So yeah, we basically get to the same part where Subaru's like, we got this, let's negotiate, let's go. But, he's 18, he gets a little overconfident, gets a little zealous, and then the others are like, well, we're not done with this deal yet. And he's like, and they're like, this insignia is worth a lot more than it looks. I'm curious about this insignia. It looks like, okay, let's just break this down of what it looks like on the screen. It looks like, honestly, it looks vampiric to me. It looks like a bat. It looks like a devil. Has a little devil tail there. Looks like bat wings at the top. Looks like it looks kind of like elf ears. So is Amelia part vampire and part elf? Probably not. But it does look kind of like bats as well. She's half bat, half elf. No, but it is a very ominous looking insignia for her to be having it. Especially I talked last week about it not matching at all. So I'm also amazed that, this time around, I didn't think he was going to say that he wanted the insignia to return back to the owner. I didn't think he was going to say that, but it makes sense why he does it this time, because he's like, look, all I want to do is take it back. Elsa's not here, so she's the one that cared about him saying that. Felt doesn't seem to care. She's just like, I was hired to pickpocket it, so it's kind of silly you're taking it back, but whatever. And then I don't blame them for saying that they think he's working with Ellsa, trying to swindle him out of a deal. I don't blame them for thinking that, but obviously it's frustrating because that's not the case. So yeah, episode 2 ends right at this moment, which if you look, it's at 22 minutes in. Whenever she showed up and it was only halfway through the episode, I was like, I wonder if episode 2 ends here, because there's supposed to be 2 episodes tied together. So yes, that is exactly what happens. And then we go immediately into the contents of episode 3. I am glad episode 3 didn't have a recap. Good on you. Glad that wasn't the case. But yeah, so Amelia shows up, and of course, yep, reunion with the witch. And then starting life from zero in another world are the names of these episodes. So anyway, Subaru's like, well, shit. Also want to point out, there was a trident and a knife and swords in the background, which Subaru's not good at using any of those, but there were weapons there that could have been utilized. So yeah, I also believe it's super clever that Puck gets to come out because it's not 5 o'clock yet. They make the comment that, let's see here, we had Suburu talks with Rom and Felt to negotiate. And then we had Amelia. Amelia arrives early. And when they said arrives early, like, I thought at first it was Ellsa or I thought it was Reinhard. I thought it was one of those two showing up. And I didn't anticipate it was going to be Amelia. But Amelia getting there before 5 o'clock means that if it's before 5... If it's 5 o'clock somewhere, then Puck is useless. Puck is in Margaritaville if it's 5 o'clock sipping down on Margs. So if it's before 5 p.m., Puck can come out. Puck arrives. So clever that we have her showing up early. Which, it does beg the question. I mean, this is the crazy thing about this timeline is that if Amelia had shown up with Felt and with Rom and Ellsa got there, then Ellsa probably would have killed all of them. Easily. Because I think Amelia would have put up the most fight, but then I think she still would have killed her. Reinhard is literally the only reason why they're alive. And it was all because of... It was basically because Suburu acted like a damsel in distress, and that's what caused all this to start. So, keep up that, Suburu. Keep acting like a damsel in distress. Maybe it'll help. Maybe it'll help you get back. But yeah, I also like that she has these powers. They look like ice crystals. They look more like Land of the Lustrous. Then I like they have a green tone to them. They kind of look like the crystal she has that Puck comes out of. She said her only family is Puck. Now, Puck is a spirit, so Puck could be like the spirit of her grandfather or something. Which would kind of be funny because if Puck was like approving or disapproving of Suburu and it's like her grandfather's spirit, I could see that. But anyway, she's like, give me back my insignia. And then she realizes that Suburu is not working with Felt or Rom. She says that she's half elf. And they're like, oh, wait, with the silver hair, are you? And she's like, that is an accidental resemblance. It causes me a lot of trouble, in fact. So, interesting. So I'm wondering if Satella, the Witch of Envy, is who she's often confused with and she doesn't like it. Curiouser. Maybe Satella's her mom? I don't know. I'm curious about this resemblance. Maybe we'll see Satella at some point in the series and figure out if they really look the same. But then he sees the flower on her dress and realizes that her nature never changes, no matter how many times I start over in this world. That is very romantic. The fact that he is like, oh, she's still the same wonderful person, no matter what happens. That is kind of romantic. I like that. But yeah, so in the process of getting the insignia back, that just seeing her out of the corner of her eye, seeing that dang dagger, that is, I'm going to say it right now. The animation on Ellsa in this whole episode, gorgeous. Loved it. It was so cool. So yeah, and then Puck's like, thank goodness it was before 5 while you're still on duty. I like that we got the crossover. We got the duality of Puck being on duty so he could help out Amelia, and Reinhard is off duty so he could help out Amelia. So that part was kind of cool to see them, to see both those at the same time. But yeah. And she's like, we can't negotiate if the item's original owner is here. So I've changed my plans. She's like, I'm going to kill you all. That was her plan to begin with. But now she's going to announce it since they supposedly failed their job. And then Subaru's like, you know what? I'm going to stand up for you, Felt. And he's like, do you all know what it's like to die and get your guts ripped open? Because I do. And she's like, what are you talking about? So her being the bowel hunter is crazy. I mean, it makes sense. And then this part here where he's like, I'm in the process of letting the justice and chivalry I never knew I had denounce all the unfairness in the world. I love the justice and chivalry I never knew I had. And he's like, what I consider unfair is you in this situation. And he's like, stay tuned, folks. I don't know how to handle the fourth wall breaking. I don't know how to handle this fourth wall breaking. I do not know how to handle it. I mean, I'm not mad at it. I was just like, oh, I was taken aback by it. So I'm fine with it. The fourth wall breaking is great. But, and oh yeah, then Puck gets in there and starts fighting. Did they get her? And no, not really. Don't underestimate the user of spirit arts. Okay, this is my only complaint in the entire episode. My only complaint in the entire episode is Puck is giving me boomer vibes, which is not beating the allegations that he's like Amelia's grandfather spirit that's now following around like freaking Mushu from Mulan. But when Puck's like, you're well accustomed to battle for a girl, and I'm like, you're following around a woman using ice spears to battle her. Pot calling the kettle black. What? Unless Amelia is not someone that usually battles, but just like anytime they're like, oh, you're a strong fighter for a girl, I'm like, she's killed all of you. It's like, whenever somebody's like, well, for a girl you're strong, I'm like, oh, I just want to roll my eyes and light myself on fire and throw myself into a ditch. Because I'm like, I can't. It's so old. It's such an old, outdated trope. And I'm like, please, this woman has been slaughtering you all for the last episode and a half. And the only reason why she doesn't in this episode is because she was literally battling you all 4-on-1. And you had to get a fifth person who's a master swordsman to come in and have any chance. So let's calm down, Puck. Let's go to sleep, Grandpa. Yeah. But anyway, so Suburu talks about this being a battle of attrition and saying, you know, the trick is how long can Puck help us? Because once Puck is out, then we're kind of on our own. Although he does tell Amelia, like, while all this, that shot there, oh my God, where's that shot again? Let me find it. That is such a good shot. Oh my God. The way they animate Ellsa with like the darkness over her eyes and then the green crystal in the foreground. So good. So good. It was giving me Witch Hat Atelier vibes if you've seen episode 1. So she's like, so Puck says, take care of yourself. You know, you can take care of the rest. If anything happens, I'll act according to my contract. So I'm curious about this contract. And then, what do they also say? They said, you know, if it comes to it, call me, even if you have to squeeze me out of my Odo. So apparently there's a contract between Amelia and Puck. And if worse comes to worse, Puck can arrive, but it's not under good circumstances. So yeah, Puck arrives. There is the battle with Ellsa, which is crazy. And then Reinhard. Okay, but before Reinhard arrives, Suburu gets to where Felt can escape. Because Felt does have the insignia. So he's like, look, that's what she's after. You get out and run and we'll hold her off. And Elsa's like, that's cute. I'll just run and find her. So what's the point of that? But Felt runs into Reinhard and leads Reinhard back to the battle with Ellsa. Love it. Yes, all this good karma. All these things moving forward. All of them adding up. It's great. I did like the battle a lot. I've talked about that. And he's like, well, you did save me. So Super says 18. She's like, you're a kid too. We're just only 3 years apart. And I felt bad because Rom tries to fight and it just, like, the club is... Oh, and she took the icicle and, like, fixed her shoe. Like, she, like, ripped her foot out of the boot and everything. That was crazy. Ugh. But yeah, she, like, fixes her shoe with the ice so that it's even with the heel and then, like, slices him. Luckily, Felt's interference kept him from getting, like, completely sliced up where he was going to die. But yeah. And then Subaru's like, what am I going to do? He's like, I don't... I like that he does contemplate for a moment. He's like, what if I die and we have to repeat this again? And I was like, please don't. At this point, we were like 30 minutes into the episode and there was like 20 minutes left. I'm like, please don't repeat this. I don't want my brain can't handle it. And that's when he's like, no. He's like, I'm not going to die again. We did do this once. We're not doing it a second time. We're going to get through this. And so he decides to create an opening. Well, Felt's about to get killed and Suburu protects her and allows her to run off. And he's like, get out of here, Felt. And Elsa's like, well, I'm just going to get rid of the two of you and then I'm going to go after her, so it's not a big deal. At least Suburu gets a club that he can fight with. At least he gets that in this episode. Even though that club turns out to not be, you know, impervious to damage. So yeah, she's like, I'm going to blow you away. He's like, I'm going to get our happy ending. I'm like, dude, you were getting on to some others in this episode for jinxing things, and then you say you're going to get a happy ending. I know this is only episode 2, but I feel like Suburu getting his happy ending. What season's this series in for? I have a feeling it's not going to be that simple. I have a feeling it's not going to be that simple at all. So they actually surprisingly work pretty well together. And she ends up grabbing him by the arm. And right as she's about to slice him, that's when Reinhard comes in. And she's like, oh. And he's like, he's basically the Todoroki of this series. Whereas Subaru's like the Deku. It's like Reinhard could be Reinhard is what you would anticipate being the protagonist, but he's not. He's a side character, which is probably good because if Reinhard was the protagonist, it'd probably be a boring show because he's so OP. We need somebody like Suburu who has lots to learn and things to, improve upon to be our main protagonist here. But yeah, I do think that it is worth noting that as she's running past, asking for help, everyone was shutting their doors. Now, there is a part of me that as she was yelling for help, there was a part of me that was like, well, you did kind of talk trash about them as you were walking by earlier. But the point was that they were all very weak-willed people, and they kind of prove her point in this moment where she's asking for help and nobody will help her. So she feels hopeless, like nobody's going to come to her rescue, and then she runs into Reinhard. Which, of course, he's just like, has the sparkles. He's like, I'll help. Bless. He just looks great. I love his design. You're the bow hunter. That blade was derived with a unique killing style. And she's like, oh, you know me. A knight among knights, born in the master swordsman line. So yeah. Okay, so he's genetically predispositioned to use a sword. I'm very curious about the sword that he wields because he doesn't use it. He's like, hunting monsters happens to be my specialty. When he said luck would have it, I thought he was going to reply with when she was like, when she was talking about monsters, and he's like, well, as luck would have it, I thought he was going to say, I'm a monster too, which is what Suburu says later on. But instead he says, hunting monsters is my specialty. He tries to portray himself as being very knightly above all else. So yeah, so Emilia has some Orihime style healing powers. And she's like, I need him to recover so he'll repay me the favor by giving information. Again, this episode was really clever in like reasons why people were doing things. Like, you're doing this to scratch my back. I'm doing this to get information. I'm doing this to get this. This is why I'm doing this. Like, it did a really good job of explaining why things had to work in this timeline to get everything to kind of sync up to itself, which I appreciated. She's like, he wouldn't lie to one who had saved his life. That in itself is showing that Emilia is very by the code and has a lot of morals, and she is assuming that people will also follow that moral code, which I'm going to be curious. I feel like throughout this series, we're going to meet people that will challenge that, and Subaru is going to be challenged by that, so we'll see where we go with it. But yeah. And so I like that he barely had to do anything. And she's like, aren't you going to use your sword? And she's like, I'd love to experience its legendary sharpness. Oh, girl, I bet you'd like to be impaled with his sword. I bet you would. I bet you would, girl. And then he's like, this is not one of those times. Basically, he's like, I only use this sword against really strong people, and that's not you. Now I'm more curious. Now I'm really curious as to in what world he would need to use the sword for. And she's just like, please entertain me. Like, she just wants to fight somebody. And he just takes a sword off the ground, grabs her weapon, but she has another one, and then fights her using a sword. And that's when Emilia says he can't go all out because I'm using these spirits arts to heal him. But once I'm done, I'll let you know, and then he can go all out. I like that Subaru's like, do your thing! And then he just erupts with this spirit energy. It's great. She's like, what are you going to show me? He's like, I'm going to show you my giant phallic weapon that I'm holding in front of me. There's no symbolism to this image at all. I'm not overcompensating in any way, shape, or form. This is all my fighting stance. Take it as such. And she's like, okay. And then it becomes a keyblade. And then it becomes a Keyblade and fires, which as soon as she wasn't there and they're like, oh, she must have been disintegrated by the blow, I was like, no, I don't think that's the case at all. I think she got hit or ducked out of sight at the right moment. But I do love that everything becomes white with like the blue scale on it. I love that visual. That was really awesome. And then just blows the whole house up. And Subaru's like, this seemed a bit extreme. Poor Rom's shop. The loot house is like, the loot house is now exposed. They're going to get looted instantly, you know? All that's left. And that's from one sword swing. So, and then they were like, well, that's good. Glad things are all wrapped up. Nothing else to worry about. Ha ha ha. And then, of course, no. That's when Ellsa jumps out. Yeah. Yeah, Ellsa jumps out. And then in this moment, the moment she took her blade, yeah, I love that shot of her. They just did such a good job of animating Ellsa. And I'm glad she's not dead. I like Ellsa as a villain. She's threatening. She's scary. She legitimately is creepy. So I'm glad she's not dead because she makes her a good villain. And then Reinhard goes towards him. He grabs the club and grabs Amelia to get her out of the way. And said she'll go for the gut. And yeah. She went through the club. Went for the club and ended up slicing through the club. She's like, soon enough, I'll disembowel everyone here. Now, at this moment here, she threw the sword. And it went like around him. I thought it was going to like boomerang back around like a Destructo disc towards Frieza and attack them all from there. But that is not what happened. And instead she pieced out. I don't know what the point of throwing your sword was, except if she needed to climb. So yeah, she's like, more importantly, what about Subaru? Mm-hmm. And so we get this moment here, which again, our boy is 18. We're going to let it go. He's like, I finally reached this point to talk to you. And yeah, with this whole thing, my name is Natsuki Subaru. The space dandy, like disco pose, love it. He's like, I want to charm you like I charmed you the first time. And she's like, oh yes, I just saved your life from a heinous villain. Yeah, are we okay on that? And she's like, okay. Look, again, if you've watched Steins Gate, I feel like, you know, there's a character that Subaru acts like, but a really hot girl likes him for his dorkiness, so all is not lost. He's like, are we clear on that? Does that all make sense? And she's like, okay. And he's like, I, as rescuer, saved your life, and you are the heroine that I saved. So wouldn't that mean you should repay me in kind, right? And the way that he's asking and like gyrating his hips, she probably assumes that he's wanting something like physical from her, which I was like, no, girl. And she's like, if it's within my power. And he's like, I only have one request. And he's like, I want to know your name. Yep. And she's like, okay, what's the one request? And I love he does a snap and says, tell me your name. Possibly the smoothest thing this boy has done the entire series so far. And she is charmed by his dorkiness, but his dorky chivalry. And she's like, it's just Amelia. I do love that shot. That might be the thumbnail too. That's a really good shot where she's like, I'm just Amelia. Awesome. And the reward was a single smile. And I do love the fact because the moment that she showed up right before Reinhard got there, the moment they were battling and this blue moonlight was shining through, I was like, oh, it's the same moment that they got slaughtered in the first timeline with their hands like overlapping, like not joined, but overlapping, like connected, but not joined. And so this time around, when they save each other, they join hands, not just overlapping and connecting, but legit joining together. And I was like, yes, talk about an equal compensation. So yeah, that club protected me at a moment's notice. And then yeah, that's when he realizes, ah, shit. That's delayed moment. Thank goodness that Amelia was there to like protect him. Whenever he's like, she's so cute when she's panicking, I'm like, dude, you're dying. You are bleeding out, my friend. But yeah, so he's like, okay, you don't know this guy. What are we going to do? And Reinhard's like, well, I'll take him to my home. I was like, Reinhard, you would. Reinhard, you would. Reinhard's like, oh, I'll take him back with me if you ain't gonna claim him. Kicking my feet right now. Please tell me I'm not the only one that sees it. Please tell me I'm the only one that sees it. But, and she's like, no, I'll take him home with me. I've got to figure out what's going on. Which makes more sense than Amelia's like, I want to figure out why is this guy, how does he know me, what's going on. But that would have been really, what a different story this would have been if he'd gone to Reinhardt's house. What a different story. Like Beauty and the Beast is playing in the background. But then they're like, what's going to become of the girl and the old man? Yep. I can't. He's like, officially, I can't overlook what they're done, but I am off duty today. She's like, you're such a bad knight. I mean, he was off duty until he saw the insignia. She's like, is this old man your family? She's like, old man Rom is the only one I have. And she's like, well, Puck is like that for me. I guess legitimately Puck and old Rom are not biologically their only family, but it's like a found family thing. So I'm joking about Puck being her grandfather's spirit. It's just kind of funny. But yeah, it's more like a found family metaphorical familial thing. She's like, if this insignia is important, keep it hidden so nobody can steal it again. And then that's when he's like, oh, you stole this? What's your name? And she's like, I don't have a fancy family name. And I'm 15. She's like, let me go. Why did he ask there? Like, when she handed it back, because she gives the insignia because as payment for, like, saving her life. And when she does that, what does he ask her? It's a funny feeling to have you give me that warning. Because he sees the insignia and freaks out and then asks her, as he grabs her arm, he says, how can this be? And then says, what's your name? And then he asks, and your family name, how old are you? So I guess the insignia has, I mean, I would assume Amelia knows the importance of the insignia. It's hers. But apparently trying to steal it is a really high crime. And I'm like, but why? And why didn't he ask Amelia anything about it being hers? Interesting. She's like, well, if it's for stealing my insignia, he's like, that's no small crime. It's trivial in comparison to the gravity of overlooking the crime unfolding before me now. So I feel bad that Felt's getting taken in by Reinhard. I feel bad that he's getting taken in by her. But this establishes that whatever the insignia is, the insignia has a lot of importance. And if someone hired her to steal it, then that's really relevant. So the thing that gets me is, like, Amelia doesn't seem bothered by... I mean, she was bothered by the insignia getting stolen, but she didn't ever treat it like, oh, it's this key to, like, unlocking a doomsday weapon or something like that. Or, like, oh, if I lose this, the world's going to end. Like, he doesn't get on to her for having it stolen in the first place, but he gets on to Felt for stealing it and saying it's a high crime to try to steal it. But I'm like, then... you don't chide Amelia for not taking better care of it for it to get stolen in the first place. It's interesting. I don't understand why he makes such a fuss about taking Felt in for stealing the insignia when he's not really confronted Amelia about it being stolen in the first place. Maybe, I don't know. Although she's like, he just puts his arm out and she falls asleep. I'm like, dude, that didn't take you any time at all. She's like, that wasn't very knightly either. He's like, I was careful not to use too much. I will most likely be calling upon you again soon. And he gives her the insignia. So he is going to follow up with her, but first he has to take care of this. I'm like, you are an interesting one. I'm curious. And then today may be the last night we gaze calmly at the moon. Like, that's ominous and foreshadowing. Why? Why is her getting the insignia stolen the sign of the apocalypse? And you would think Amelia would know something about this or have a little more dread if that were the case. So curious. So curious. So I don't know where we're going with that. But yeah, so this insignia existing has put Reinhard on high alert. And the fact that others know that she has it has put him on high alert. And now it's like, well, what are we going to do now? What are we going to do with that? I want him to come back, but I'm very curious. And so apparently at this point in the story, we're going to have basically Suburu is going to go to Amelia's home, wherever that is, and Reinhard is going to take Felt in and then come back and talk to Amelia afterwards. Very ominous. Very ominous indeed. This episode had a lot of action in it, and I really appreciated it, but I also appreciated how they managed to wrap up the timeline, but the way that everything connected and the way that every little interaction that Suburu had led to the events unfolding as they did was really well done. I really appreciated it. So yeah, that has me very excited to see what we're gonna do in the future with this series. So, oh yeah, and I was gonna talk about the Chibis. I was ending this video and I was like, what have I not talked about? And I was like, the Chibis. So we got 2 Chibi shorts in this. I like that it's like World 1-4 and it's like the 4th time around and he's got like 1 life. I'm like, oh my gosh. So yeah, so we have this break time and we're going to skip past the part with him and Felt talking because that part was pretty much like we've gone through that in the discussion. But they talk about the time zones and what they use here. So they basically have day light and day dark. So with the timing of this, we have our clock fit into these parts, and these parts here are daylight, which is a little different than how we do our clocks, daylight and day dark. And so we have 10 hours. Yep, so it's 10 daylight. So we have 10 hours, basically 12 and 12. So it's basically like our clock. It's just a little rotated around. And instead they have magical time crystals. So they establish that, yeah, they basically go through the 12 hours. It's split in half. And they do like, they start out, these are zeros, so it's a little different than ours. And they do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12, the first 12 hours of the day. And then they go down this way and do the 6 hours and 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and the 12. Okay. Oh, the 12 is like the 0. All right. Make that there. And so they do the first 0 to 6. So basically from midnight. So from basically midnight to 6 a.m. is wind time. So in the morning there, which, okay, I can get that. Get your Zephyr in. And then from there, you have the fire time, which is from 6 a.m. to noon, which is where the sun comes out. It's at its brightest, so you get that. Then there is after 6 day dark, so you have from noon to 6 p.m. is your water time. All right. And then from 6 to midnight is your earth time. Okay. I mean, I'm a night owl and I'm an earth sign, so that all adds up to me. And they basically just change color as they go. So cool. Nice. The other short that we got was basically talking about, get the soundtrack off there, was basically Amelia. We get a little glimpse of her home for a hot second. Looks nice. Lots of bird motifs, which match the little insignia kind of on her ends of her robes. But yeah, and I like that Puck calls her Leah. That's really cute. So yeah, the Sword Saint, as it were, we talk about Reinhard's abilities. So the Supreme Sword Saint, it says Shazam! They has all kinds of divine protections. I thought this was really cute. So they show him you can't pierce me. He has projectile avoidance, so he can avoid things like that. He also has the ability to stop the first strike. This is first strike immunity. Then he has Supreme Sword Saint. He has all these other divine protections. And he's like, everything I make tastes the best. Sodium knowledge is my favorite. For the record, sodium knowledge, would I give a lot to have the ability to make everything I make taste amazing? Yes. So that was really funny, the sodium knowledge. And then Puck seems to think it's hilarious that she mixes up her soda, her salt, and her sugar. Which, girl, mixing up salt and sugar, not a fun time. And she's like, oh yeah, Suburu did good too. Yeah. It's like, he's dressed weird, but he's okay. Yeah, and seems to know some things. So where do we go to from here? She's like, if nothing else, we're going to need him to prove that he's not a bad person. And Puck's like, I'll protect you no matter what, and I'll get rid of him if I need to. And it's like, ha! So that was cute. Yeah, I'm glad that as much as I like Reinhardt, I'm glad he's not the central protagonist, because I think that'd be a little too OP. But poor Suburu having to deal with Reinhardt gets all of these level ups, and he's like, I am okay. Anyway, I thought that those shorts were really good. Yes, indeed. But anyway, so I really enjoyed this episode. I'm so glad. It was a great follow-up to episode 1. I'm very excited for episode 3. So I'm looking forward to reading your comments down below and seeing what you thought of the episode. But in any case, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'll be back very soon with more of ReZero. And I'll see you then. Bye.